Hey guys, hope everyone's doing really well today or tonight. I wanted to make a quick video or quickish, maybe 10 minutes or so, um, basically on why, everyone should focus on financial freedom. And like, I guess if you said this to your average person, they'd say, well, that's a no-brainer, obviously. Like, why wouldn't you want to be financially free? But the reality is that I'm seeing more and more people, which is kind of worrying, or at least more people I speak to, that they're kind of saying, I guess money isn't really that much of a focus for them. They're mostly living day to day. They're not kind of thinking long term at all, and just hoping they can kind of get by and live that way forever. Now, for them, I personally don't think financial freedom is a really big factor in their life. Where I think for everyone, really, it should be. I don't think there's a situation where you know financial freedom isn't some kind of important factor in your life. So let's get into why exactly you should focus on this. And I guess this will be, yeah, for those that don't really see the value in actually saving, investing, potentially getting a promotion, or driving to improve your skills, anything like that. So let's get into it. Also, this is not really being filmed on Sunday the 16th of February. This was something that I organized back then. It's probably 2 months or so since. So anyway, I'm just keeping on there just because. Now, financial freedom as a priority. So I've written a few notes here. Money isn't everything. That's very true, and doesn't always create happiness. I would say it isn't really. It doesn't really have any direct correlation with creating happiness. It's more kind of the optionality, the freedom aspect, the you know, I guess not having as much stress that really does contribute to living a happy life. Um, it is also obviously key to living, unless you want to live in some far-flung forest, or live in wilderness or something like that. It is key to society. It is the um, cornerstone of how we're able to do business, how we're able to live as people. So super important. It's not always, when it comes to financial freedom, it's not always about not working, but rather doing what you want with your time. So I think having that flexibility to be able to, potentially either go part-time if you're currently full-time, maybe become a, casual consultant or something of that nature, or even simply being able to, move from being an employee to being a contractor or a business owner, where there's a little bit more, I guess, risk and potentially more nuance around job security and whatnot. This could work really well for that. If you are putting it as a priority. Now, even if you're someone who like me personally, which I'm getting better at, doesn't really like to spend money, or doesn't see the value in potentially upgrading certain areas of their life. Maybe you're still wearing the same $5 clothes from 5 years ago. Having the option to do so is fantastic, right? Now, you might not ever expect that one day you might, for example, want to spend more money on clothes, but there may, and I'm seeing this in my life as well, there may come a time where you do start seeing the value in maybe buying a certain material, or maybe buying a certain brand, or maybe even diversifying from not just owning t-shirts, potentially purchasing a nice polo, or a nice jacket, or a nice some different type of clothing. Now, admittedly, I've gone most of my life pretty much not really caring about things like this, but I'm slowly over time starting to really appreciate, for example, fine clothing, or different brands, or why people spend a certain amount of money on a certain thing. Back in the day, I never understood it, but feel like like most things, once you start to kind of niche and really kind of understand the whys behind things, you yourself actually might start considering that as well. So, and that's for me. That's been clothing. It's been fragrances. Your $50 fragrance versus your $500 fragrance, and things like also, catching a flight somewhere. Back in the day, I would have always bought the cheapest flight, and wouldn't have even spent to upgrade, seating or food or anything like that. But now I'm starting to, slowly appreciate why people do that, and detract a little bit, detract from just being so money focused. Now, last point here is that there is a feeling of security that doesn't compare to most things, knowing you'll always be okay. Now, by that I mean money won't be an issue. It's a non-issue. whether it's your investments, whether it's your savings that you've just saved up for a bunch of time, or maybe it's your type of business where it's essentially just going to keep going long term. You've built up a really good reputation. You've got lots of systems in place to prevent black swan events, recessions, etc. Obviously, this isn't there's a lot of businesses aren't resistant to these kind of things. Even things like innovation, change, AI. Many businesses get swept out. So potentially, even investing in real estate, right? Everyone needs a house to live under, but there are cycles, there are black swan events, there are earthquakes, there are things that can impact your portfolio. So diversifying as part of financial freedom, I think, is important to kind of allow that sense of security. Ah, okay, how are we going to get to financial freedom? So obviously, no brainer. It will require work. No one gets money for doing nothing, unless you've inherited it, which fair enough. But even if they do, they'll likely just waste it. So back to the inheritance thing, I've seen lots of people my age, spending big, all going to the top universities or buying all, buying the top type of clothes, everything super expensive, and they might not. I feel like they haven't kind of gone through the journey to appreciate it, rather they've just been given it. So that's good for them, but personally, that's not something that I am really a fan of. I've been blessed to been brought up in a really great family, but ultimately, I have worked for where I am today, which I'm very proud of, and I feel like it actually I feel better having it done that way versus just being handed it. I think another really key thing here, and aside from goals, I think systems is really important. But having clear goals over time, having those deadlines or those goals or those achievements kind of set in stone. So this could be, for example, increasing your income, whether it's getting a promotion at your job or maybe pivoting into a new industry that pays a little bit more. Starting a side hustle, I mean, this is again something that anyone can do. I think the idea of having a 9 to 5 job is awesome, and it also gives you the flexibility outside of those 9 to 5 hours. So a side hustle could be a perfect option for the weekends or for something to do after work. Um, some simple things that come to mind could be doing YouTube, could be tutoring someone or educating someone on a certain topic. It could be potentially flipping items on online marketplaces like a Facebook marketplace or maybe a Gumtree or something to that nature. Or simply, I think this should go kind of hand in hand with increasing your income, but decrease your costs. For example, moving to a cheaper house. Maybe you're not buying your coffees every day from Starbucks and maybe going to 7-Eleven instead. Um, Little things like that can make a massive difference to financial freedom. And I'll add to that, overspending is just a massive problem right now, especially in Australia. I don't know why. Obviously, cost of living has gone up. Cost of living will always continue to go up, no matter where you live in the world. There might be certain times when it's less so than others, but ultimately things are going to get more expensive, and that's inflation. If you're also going to continue spending more and inflate your spending over time, but something like your income stays the same, there will obviously be a point where there's no wiggle room for savings or anything like that. So just be aware of that. Systems. So like I just mentioned before, having systems in place will make it super easy to meet those goals. Basic systems, for example, each night I have my phone and my Apple Watch and my AirPods charging on one little dock every single night. Never forget to charge. It's always there, and I can always pick it up and know it will be charged. I know exactly where they are. They'll never get lost because I have a system every single night to put it in the same spot. Now, in terms of financial freedom, systems could be, for example, salary sacrificing, or just putting in extra money into your retirement accounts. It could be automating your investing, for example, each month, deducting $50. I'd hope more a month, but let's just say $50 into something like maybe an index fund or a bond or maybe precious metals, anything that you are confident investing in. Um, and also, I've added in here no pay in for. So, um, you know, essentially eliminating the optionality to where if you can't afford it, be a little bit more disciplined and choose to not pay in full, even though you have access to it. Just don't do it because you're on a mission to reach financial freedom, and something like paying for when you can't afford something could slow you down. Last point here, invest heavily in education and tailor those processes over time to maximize your outcomes. Now, education, I'm not talking formal education like a university, but if that's what you're thinking, sure. I'm talking more, potentially YouTube courses or just YouTube videos, books, or just articles online, anything like this, that can kind of really push you in terms of financial literacy, investing, new opportunities for making more money, new opportunities for saving money. These will be really, really important. And for me personally, I really like. I've started to recently go into real estate books and research around that. So that's been a really big focus for me. But for you, it could be, starting side hustles. It could be index fund investing. It could be superannuation. It could be your retirement fund. It could be how to hop into a new job market, anything like that that can help educate you. Even something like Atomic Habits, something that will help put those goals and those systems in place that you can kind of achieve great things could be awesome. And honestly, I think it's kind of essential if you want to really maximize outcomes over time. So, a few tips here to optimize your finances. I'll be fairly quick on this one, hopefully. I think the first thing that you should do, and a lot of people kind of they have this a little bit backwards, where they think invest, invest, invest. But if you have any bad debt, so I'm talking credit cards, I'm talking predatory loans, I'm talking car loans, anything that is not bringing you money, okay, you want to reduce those as much as possible before you start investing. Now, the idea behind this is that when you start investing, any money you make, you will be taxed on that money. Whereas any debt you reduce, there is no tax benefit or tax difference there. That is just reducing straight your debt. It's reducing your debt. Whereas when you increase your income, you will increase it proportionally minus some tax. So there is a greater compounding effect over time when you reduce the bad debt versus invest when you have bad debt. This doesn't include, for example, mortgages for investment properties or anything like that. If you do choose to reduce the loans on those properties, that might be part of your strategy, or it might not be. Now, auditing your spending, I think we spend way more than what we think. Normally, it's those small hidden costs over time. For example, that $2.50 coffee a day. While it might be, it might be part of your day. It might be a habit of sorts, and you can't really do your day without it. Something like that could be potentially reduced down to 50 cents if you make it at home. Or if you're someone spending $8 a day on coffee, find somewhere like 7-Eleven where you can reduce it down a little bit further. Ideally, we don't want to, unless it's short term, kind of reduce the quality of our life. Ideally, if we can find substitutes that are cheaper, for example, shopping home brand at a supermarket, or if you're wanting fast food, using a app like the McDonald's or the KFC app to kind of help subsidize the prices for fast food, that could be good too. And yeah, just cut costs where honestly you don't see yourself using Netflix. If you're not going to the gym, so be it. Cut that cost. You can do some push-ups at home for free or go for a run outside. So another way to optimize your finances is to brainstorm how you can actually increase your income. Like I mentioned before, promotion, second job, flipping items are some really easy ones. Again, there are a million different ways you can increase your income. These are just really common, easy ones that I've seen many people in my life get. Another way is getting a mentor, being proactive in learning and building a team of professionals over time to support you. Now, getting a mentor, you might think is actually paying someone to kind of guide you, but a mentor could simply be someone you've read you've read their book and you really kind of align with their thinking and their goals. They could be your quote unquote mentor. You might start consuming more of their content, and that's all that's required. No need to pay someone unless you really find someone that's really great at what they do. They're an expert and they charge a certain price for that. Be proactive in learning, read, watch videos, and just be curious in general. There will come a time when you will have lots of investment properties, lots of wealth, lots of assets, lots of potentially sources of income, and you're going to need professionals, mortgage brokers, banks. You're going to need accountants, potentially tax advisors around you to support you. Okay, so just be ready for that. Be ready to make a big change is another tip here. So I've said remove friends. If people in your life don't serve you, I think it's best to get rid of them. Have those hard conversations earlier rather than later. Move cities or move to a new job. Like I mentioned before, where's the opportunity? If it's in a new job, new industry, new city, new country, have a look at that. Don't be afraid. We only live once, and if it really will move the needle for you and really help you optimize your finances, I mean, it'd be crazy not to do it or not to consider it at least. And sell your car or house. These are more extreme examples, but I mean, some people just have unfortunately gotten themselves into some really bad situations where they will ultimately go backwards for many years to come. And sometimes it's better to just take the loss and start moving in the right direction rather than looking at it 5 years down the track. Last tip here, which I think is really cool, is find ways to enjoy it and make it almost like a game and see how far you can take it. So this is what I'm kind of doing personally. I actually do love finance and just personal finance in general, but seeing how far, how much real estate can I really grow, how much wealth can I really grow, how many people can I assist and help and educate along the way. Just like almost like a video game, what will that dollar figure be at the end? What will that value added you know, figure look like at the end as well? How will I feel as a person? All these things will help drive me to optimize my finances. So yeah, I'd try that. Find a way to enjoy it. You might really enjoy crypto. You might really enjoy real estate. You might really enjoy the process of just saving money. You might love it. Whatever it is, go at it, and yeah, don't go the path of least resistance. That would be my advice. So that's it, guys. Hopefully, the video hasn't been too long. If you have any questions, make sure you put them down in the comments. Or otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.